Imagine the ocean hundreds of millions of years ago. No humans, no cities, not even dinosaurs yet. Just endless dark water, and something already moving beneath the surface. Meet Cladoselache, essentially the beta version 1.0 of your worst nightmare. It patrolled the depths around 400 million years ago during the Devonian period, a time often called the Age of Fishes. This was an era when life in the oceans decided to go through a massive, chaotic growth spurt, and nature started experimenting with the very first blueprints of a perfect biological killer. We know so much about this prehistoric pioneer because its fossils were discovered in the most unlikely of places, Ohio. Back then, Ohio was at the bottom of a tropical sea. These specimens weren't just dusty old bones. They were preserved so perfectly in Cleveland shale that scientists could poke around and study not just the skeleton, but actual traces of muscles, skin, and even the remains of its last meal. It's basically a 400-million-year-old high-definition crime scene. Its body was shaped like a high-speed torpedo, a masterpiece of underwater hydrodynamics that minimized drag. This sleek, narrow design allowed it to slice through the water like a hot knife through butter, chasing down unsuspecting prey with a level of efficiency that would make a modern nuclear submarine look sluggish. It was designed to finish a chase before the prey even knew it had started. However, the quote 5 of this beast was a bit of a work in progress. Unlike the iconic sharks we see in movies, whose mouths are tucked menacingly underneath their snouts, Cladoselache had its mouth positioned right at the very front of its head. It looked less like a silent, brooding hunter, and more like a fish that was perpetually shocked or offended by the world around it. There was another technical limitation. It couldn't actually open its mouth very wide. The jaw structure was stiff and primitive, attached directly to the skull in a way that prevented it from unhinging its face. Still, in a world where most of the competition was just slow-moving, armored fish that looked like swimming suitcases, these limitations didn't hold it back. Cladoselache was a rock star. But if there's one rule in nature, it's that quote 9 is never enough. Evolution is a brutal, never-ending arms race. Over the following millions of years, the ocean became a battlefield. Sharks realized that to stay relevant, they needed to upgrade. They became larger, their muscles became denser, and they turned into far more efficient killing machines. Before long, a new titan emerged from the blue haze. This wasn't just another fish. This was a high-performance dominance machine designed for the age of monsters. It was faster, it was significantly deadlier, and it was biologically hardwired to dominate every cubic inch of its territory. Its scientific name was Cretoxyrhina, but paleontologists, who clearly have a flair for the dramatic, nicknamed it the Ginsu shark. This was a tribute to the famous brand of kitchen knives that could cut through anything. If Cretoxyrhina was in the water with you, it wasn't just a bite you had to worry about. It was a high-speed surgical amputation. This beast was a true heavyweight, stretching up to 8 meters in length. To put that in perspective, imagine a modern great white, then add a couple of meters of pure aggression and a background from the Cretaceous period, an era where even the plants were probably trying to kill you. It was the undisputed king of the mid-Cretaceous seas. Its teeth were its pride and joy, long, blade-like, and smooth as glass. Unlike the serrated teeth of some modern sharks, these were custom-built for slicing through thick, leathery flesh with the precision of a laser. They didn't just tear, they made clean, lethal cuts that would cause massive blood loss in seconds. This shark didn't bother with tiny, bony fish. Cretoxyrhina was a big-game specialist. It targeted massive marine creatures, systematically dismantling them with a level of brutal efficiency that earned it a reputation as the ocean's primary cleaner. If it moved, Cretoxyrhina could kill it. Even the celebrities of the ancient world, young marine reptiles like mosasaurs and plesiosaurs, weren't safe from its appetite. However, the ocean is a diverse place, and not every shark wanted to be a giant tank. Some decided to take the path of the Special Ops Unit, smaller, faster, and much more annoying for anything that tried to eat them. They proved that size isn't everything when you have the right attitude and enough teeth. One of the most successful of these agile hunters was Squalicorax. If you saw one today, you'd think you were looking at a standard modern shark, but don't let the familiar silhouette fool you. This guy was surviving in a world populated by literal sea monsters. Squalicorax was the ultimate opportunist, a mix between a fearless hunter and a shrewd scavenger. It wasn't a picky eater, a fresh, struggling fish, delicious. A massive rotting carcass of a dinosaur that drifted out to sea. Even better, it was the cleanup crew of the prehistoric world, making sure nothing went to waste. While Squalicorax was busy feasting on a carcass, it had to keep a constant watch. The larger sharks like Cretoxyrhina saw Squalicorax not as a colleague, but as a snack. It was a high-stress lifestyle where you were the predator for 5 minutes and the appetizer for the next 10. Then there was Cardabiodon, the quote, six of the ancient seas. He doesn't get as much screen time in documentaries, but in terms of pure power and evolutionary success, he was a massive player in the open ocean during the Turonian age. Cardabiodon could reach 7 meters of pure, unadulterated muscle. It was perfectly tuned for life in the pelagic zone, the vast, empty blue of the open ocean where there are no reefs to hide in and no shadows to lurk in. You survive there on grit and power alone. In the terrifyingly vast emptiness of the sea, it hunted like a ghost. It relied on explosive bursts of speed and surgical precision to end a fight before the victim even realized they were in one. It was the shark equivalent of a stealth fighter jet. But sometimes, evolution goes off the rails. It stops trying to be efficient and starts getting weird. Some ancient sharks didn't just change their size, they became something so completely bizarre that they look like they were designed by someone who had never actually seen a fish before. Helicoprion is, without a doubt, the weirdest creature to ever call the ocean home. When scientists first found its fossils, they thought it was a prank or a mistake. It defied every rule of biology we thought we knew. Instead of normal rows of teeth, Helicoprion had a tooth whorl. Imagine a circular saw blade made of sharp, jagged teeth, permanently growing in a spiral inside its lower jaw. It looked less like an animal and more like a terrifying tool you'd find in the back of a haunted hardware store. For over 100 years, scientists had absolutely no idea how this thing worked. They tried attaching the saw to the shark's nose, its dorsal fin, and even the end of its tail. It was the most frustrating jigsaw puzzle in the history of paleontology. Did the saw spin like a real blade to slice through soft squids? Did it act like a serrated whip to shred anything that got too close? Or was it a specialized tool for crushing the shells of ammonites? Every time we think we understand Helicoprion, nature reminds us that it has a very strange sense of humor. And then, the music slows down. The water turns cold. Every other creature in the ocean suddenly decides it has somewhere else to be. The ultimate predator is here. Even today, millions of years after its reign, this creature remains the undisputed king of our nightmares, and the greatest mystery of the prehistoric deep. Megalodon. Just saying the name makes the hairs on your neck stand up. It doesn't need a fancy nickname. The name itself is synonymous with... This wasn't just a big fish, this was the shark, the largest, most powerful, and most terrifying predatory fish to ever exist in the history of our planet. It was the final boss of the Cenozoic era. Let's talk scale, because your brain isn't ready for it. Megalodon could grow up to 25 meters long, that's nearly 80 feet. It weighed almost 90 tons. To put that in human terms, that is roughly the weight of a Boeing 737 airplane. But instead of engines, it had muscles. And instead of a cockpit, it had a mouthful of daggers. Its jaws were so enormous they could accommodate a small car. An average human could walk inside its open mouth without even ducking their head. In fact, you could probably fit a whole dinner party in there, though you'd be the main course, the side dish, and the dessert. A single tooth from this monster could reach 20 centimeters in length. That's bigger than your hand. These weren't just teeth. They were serrated, heart-shaped slabs of bone, designed to crush through the ribcage of a whale, as if it were made of dry twigs. Megalodon didn't bother with small fish. It was a specialist whale hunter. It would target massive baleen whales, using its immense bite force, estimated to be the strongest in animal history, to crush their skulls and flip them over. It was the only creature that could look at a 40-foot whale and think, yeah, that looks like a light snack. During its peak, the Megalodon was untouchable. There was no creature in the ocean, no climate event, and no competitor that could challenge its throne. It was the true apex predator, the absolute monarch of the abyss, and the peak of shark evolution. But here is the most terrifying lesson of history. Even the gods can fall. No matter how big you are, how many teeth you have, or how many whales you've eaten, the Earth is always changing. And the Earth doesn't care how apex you think you are. Around 2 million years ago, at the end of the Pliocene, the Megalodon simply disappeared. The king was gone, leaving behind nothing but giant fossilized teeth scattered across the ocean floor, like the debris of a fallen empire. Scientists are still debating what caused the downfall. One major theory is climate change. The Earth was entering an ice age, and the oceans were cooling down rapidly. For a giant that needed warm tropical waters to survive and raise its young, the world was becoming a very cold, very lonely place. Another theory is a supply chain issue. As the oceans cooled, the great whales, the megalodon's primary food source, migrated to the freezing polar waters. The whales could handle the cold, but the megalodon couldn't. Its dinner simply moved to a place where the shark couldn't follow. It's a brutal biological reality. The bigger you are, the more you have to eat. Without a constant supply of massive fatty whales, a 90-ton shark simply cannot maintain its energy. The ultimate predator was defeated not by a bigger monster, but by an empty stomach and a changing world. But let's be honest with ourselves. Our ocean is unfathomably vast and terrifyingly deep. We've mapped the surface of Mars and the Moon more accurately than we've explored our own ocean floor. About 80% of the underwater world remains a complete, dark mystery to us. This has led many to wonder, what if the extinction wasn't as final as we think? There are stories, sightings, and theories that suggest creatures like the Megalodon didn't die out. Instead, they might have retreated. They might have adapted to the crushing pressure of the deep, dark trenches where the water is still warm enough to survive. Somewhere down there, in the pitch-black silence where no light ever reaches, the king might still be reigning, hidden far below, waiting in the darkness, swimming through the shadows, just as they have for millions of years. So next time you're swimming and you feel something brush against your leg, just pray it's only seaweed.